Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to show you guys the project that my brother has been working on, and as you can see, these are all the parts that we're going to be using to build somewhat of a cowboy cauldron or a fire pit with a tripod over it. Now this is going to have multiple uses, but we're going to change out these feet on this. I want to say it almost looks like a jambalaya pot, but not necessarily a jambalaya pot, but we're going to show you the process of all this. Alright guys, and once again I'm showing you guys the pieces we're going to be using. Obviously everything that you see here isn't necessarily going to be used for what it is. We're going to cut them down, just pretty much use the metal and just put everything together to build the cowboy cauldron style cooking, pretty much fire pit with a tripod. So as I mentioned here, I went to Shields and I saw a Cowboy Cauldron, which is an actual brand of grill. And it's just pretty much the same thing that we envisioned to make. The only difference is that the Cowboy Cauldron is stationary. You can move it up and down, but it doesn't have any feet. So you can't, place the fire pit on the ground and then possibly like hang a Dutch oven or something else on the tripod itself. So I don't think they have that option. Maybe they sell something similar to that, but anyway, we're going to be doing something similar to what I just mentioned. And here what my brother is doing is actually cutting the top piece, getting everything ready for the top piece where the feet are going for the tripod, and he's using these old pieces as I mentioned. So this build is just going to be something extremely cheap. We're not going to spend a lot of money on this. As you can see, all the metal is just old and rusty, and we're going to keep it with that style, kind of a rustic style, and we're not going to, paint it black or anything of that nature. We're just going to clear coat it and use it as it is to keep the rustic aesthetic with it. And as I mentioned, he's using this ring here to attach the, I want to say these connecting rods, so that way you can connect the feet to the tripod. And he's going to weld this together, and he came up with this himself. I think he did a pretty great job. His welding is here and there, but it is an old piece, obviously, and it's not the best material to be welding. But anyway, we're going to be making the feet 84 inches, about 7 feet long. So the tripod is going to be pretty tall. It's going to be pretty tall. Now, what we're doing also is that he's going to make it where it's detachable. So if you want to remove the feet, that way you can store it away, or we can store it away, we can do so. Or if we want to transport it, he made it to where we can transport it. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be transporting this on a weekly or, weekend basis, but that was just something he wanted to make sure that we were capable of doing, is taking it apart without having issues. So as you can see here, he's making some holes so that way we can put some pins. That way the feet are stationary once we set up the tripod. Now, the tripod is also going to serve several purposes. One is to hold Dutch ovens. One is to hold the fire pit, as you can see here, and to move it up and down. So if we want to keep the fire pit stationary, we can leave it on the ground, or we can lift it up. That way you're not cooking and bending over while you're cooking. So that's something that I like a lot. That was a great idea. Now we are going to sacrifice this tea kettle, this country tea kettle from Wagnerware. He's just sacrificing that top piece. So if that offends anybody, I'm really sorry, guys. He's just using that top piece. But anyway, he welded this top piece just to pretty much have it on the grill grate. He wanted to have something, cast iron related to this, because technically that's what it's for. That's what we built this for cast iron cooking. And here we're just going to try and demonstrate what we were talking about. So he made these chains with these handles, with the handles you can attach it to. And you can move the fire pit higher or lower, so you can adjust it. So he did make a mechanism where you can move it up and down, lower it, make it higher, which, as I mentioned, is something that I wanted. Now, the other thing that we that he added, was that if we don't want to move the fire pit, we can just attach these, and I'll show you guys in a minute. We can detach the grill grate and just have the grill grate go up and down, or go up higher or lower. So if you want to leave the fire pit stationary, you can do so. And if we're using some cast iron pans, anything of that nature, we can get it hotter or cooler by moving it up and down. And for me, that was a great idea. So as I mentioned, I think he did a great job. And this is pretty much the final product here. We're going to end up using it in a minute or so. But as I mentioned, we just wanted to show you guys what the finished product was. Overall, I think he probably spent about 40 hours on this project. So it did take him about a month or so to make it. But honestly, with all the pieces that he had, I want to say maybe $20 to build it. I want to say $10 for this, the fire pit itself, or the jambalaya pot that I had told him it was possibly a jambalaya pot. And the other piece is about $10, so very inexpensive. Now let's get ready to use it. We're going to be using the Fredericksburg cast iron skillet and the griddle. And I also made a short video on this, but this one is a little bit longer so you guys can see the process of it. Now, one thing that I did mention is that we're not going to be using that grill grate for cooking directly on. My brother ended up just painting it with high heat paint to prevent it from getting rusted. But as you can see here, it's doing a great job. And if you guys can see those bars that are going across, that is what I was mentioning earlier, where we can lift it up. So if it's getting too hot or getting too cool, we can adjust the heat with moving it up and down. And for me, that was a great part of what I wanted to do with cast iron cooking, because sometimes the fire could get too hot, or perhaps it's not hot enough when we want to sear something. Like you can see here, the griddle is actually really nice and hot, and it's going to create a good crust on these steaks. So aside the fact that I wanted to show you guys this, obviously I wanted to show how well it does while cooking. And so far, I've been very happy with the way it's cooked. No issues at all. And same thing with the Fredericksburg cast iron. This thing is heavy, heavy duty cast iron. It's thick, it's heavy, and it could stand up to the heat. So it did a great job, guys. I'll be honest with you, I was kind of skeptical. I was worried that it wasn't going to be able to withstand, but a lot of people from Texas, they love outdoor cooking. They're about the cowboys. They're about, the ranch style lifestyle. And I'm all for it because I love that as well. My family comes from a small town in Mexico, and pretty much the same thing. They love cooking over open fire. We love cooking just a lot of different types of foods, like goat, lamb, beef, chicken, turkey, whatever it is, pork. And for us, this is just something very familiar, and I love the way that Texas is and their way of cooking. So everything is just similar to the way we are. And as I mentioned, everything from Texas is bigger, it's tougher, and the skillets and the skillet and the griddle are very tough, and they're heavy gauge. And if you guys are going to be using this for outdoor cooking, these are going to do a great job, because they, create a great sear. As you can see here on the steak, they did a great job. No issues at all. No issues. I wasn't even worried about warping. On the contrary, I was actually trying to get the fire to get a little bit hotter, because the iron is so thick that it does take more time to heat up. But I want to say that everything did a great job. Same thing with my brother. He did a great job, so props to him. I'm very excited to show you guys of what else we can do with this. But overall, it's just very excited to show you guys this project that my brother has been working on. And we're also doing some lobster tails that my sister got last minute. And the steak, the tomahawk, turned out great. As you can see here, a little bit more well done. But my family, as I mentioned before, they don't like their stuff to be medium well, or medium for that matter. So other than that, everything turned out great. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because it is a little bit different. I usually just cook real quick. As you can see, the lobster turned out great. But yeah, this is a little bit different than what I usually do. And usually it's all about just cooking or showcasing cast iron. But I figured that this would be a great video for you guys to see of the projects that I have with my brother. And this was, after all, everything was said and done. You know, I'm here showing you guys the mechanism to the pretty much the setup that we have. So yeah, overall, I was very blown away with what my brother was able to come up with. His ideas, his little inventions, they turned out great. The only thing that I didn't like was just he ended up adding a like a jack style, like up and down for the fire grate. So where, you know, where you set your wood or your charcoal or whatever it is that we're using, he added it to where it could be adjustable, a small jack. I told him it wasn't going to work, that with the heat it was going to end up getting destroyed, and pretty much what happened. So other than that, I think we're very happy with the way everything turned out. Oh, real quick, these are the bars that I was mentioning where we can go up and down. That's what I kept saying. So here, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to get your pans a little bit up higher from the heat, you can do so. Or if you want to keep them lower, you can do so as well. So with the mechanism that my brother did, going up and down, it's a huge plus. And I feel like it's a great way to cook, because sometimes the fire gets really hot and sometimes it's not hot enough. So I like that I have the ability to adjust the temperature. So if I'm noticing that it's not heating up enough, or if it's too hot, I can lift it up away. Not only that, but it also serves as a purpose for me, whether I want to add more firewood, whether I want to move around the firewood, or anything of that nature. For whatever reason, if I need access to that, I do have it. Which the as I mentioned, the cowboy cauldron, I haven't really, you know, looked at it. I haven't really used it, but I think it's more of a grill style, like a Weber, but on a tripod, and pretty much a cauldron. But here, as I mentioned, just with everything was just so cheap to build, since my brother had all the parts. So we had a blast cooking. We even did s'mores at the end of the night. So with all that said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you guys for watching.